The Cataclysm was an event that shook the entirety of Teyvat 500 years ago. In Liyue, tales of this event have been passed down throughout the ages, with mentions of a nameless Yaksha and the devotion of the Millelith soldiers constantly mentioned. In this video, I'm going to go over the stories of how the Cataclysm affected the Millelith, Liyue, and the Chasm. With the Chasm being announced for 2.6, I thought this would be a great time to go over this artifact set, Tenacity of the Millelith. Also, if you like this video, consider subscribing. It helps me out a lot and I'd really appreciate it. Anyways, let's move right on and get into the video. In an age when solemn songs were sung from the cliff tops, a meteorite once fell into the chasm. Out of the depths of the boundless night sky above, the iron meteorite plummeted to the ground, turning the earth into glazed sand crystal on impact. Though human life is fleeting, Rex Lapis personally ordered the Millelith to rush to the defense of the mines. As the abyss flooded forth, the Millelith escorted countless civilians to safety. Miners tell tales of a small number of troops from the rearguard who remained in the chasm. Together with the nameless Yaksha, they fought courageously until they too made the ultimate sacrifice among the jagged rocks. In time, the names of both mortals and Adepti alike were forgotten. In time, even the mountains and rivers changed form. Yet there will never come a time for their honorable deeds to be forgotten. Like this gold-leafed flower, they will shine on forever. 500 years on, the harbor city remains as steadfastly peaceful today as the day the disaster was quelled. And still, the troops wear this golden flower with pride, in honor of the sacrifice made by their forebears. As a mark of military service, the Millelith used the feathers of high-altitude birds of prey to adorn their uniforms. These tail feathers are only worn on ceremonial occasions. They boost the morale of the citizenry, and fill visiting outlanders with a sense of awe. It is said that in its inception, this ceremonial custom was inspired by the nameless Yaksha. In the heat of battle, when the Yaksha was engaged in fierce combat with the Abyss, some of its plumage was stripped away. The feathers that fell to the ground were seen as a symbol of hope. In the end, the brave Yaksha and fearless citizenry would sink into an exhausted slumber in the dark lair of the enemy. Rex Lapis was moved by their sacrifice, and observed a prolonged vow of silence among the low murmuring of the mountain stone. The people claimed that the nameless Yaksha that defended the chasm was not in fact under the command of Rex Lapis. Instead, they believed that it was an act of redemption for a long-standing sin, a price paid for cowardice and dereliction of duty. Whatever the truth of the matter, the Yaksha that had once soared through the celestial heights had now returned to a free existence amongst the clouds. As for the soldiers, trapped in eternal slumber in the depths of the chasm, their legend continues to evolve with the flow of time. A hardy timepiece powered by sunlight and moonlight, capable of capturing rays of light even on the darkest days. When Liyue was threatened by a pitch-black malice, this time-dial helped the soldiers to remember the warmth of the sun. In the course of fighting side by side with the Yaksha, these mortal soldiers could not escape being contaminated by karma or harmed during the slaughtering. To avoid being consumed by the darkness of constant killing, the Millelith soldiers used this timepiece to silently mark the passage of time during each battle. They fixed a unified marching pace and schedule so that one squadron of mortal soldiers would take the battlefield as the one before them retreated. This cycle of advance and retreat continued all the way to the depths of the chasm, where Yaksha and valiant soldiers both fell. 100 years later, this timepiece was unearthed by a miner. Its bronze surface sparkled in the bright starlight. Urban legends tell of a collector of curios wearing black robes who roamed the market streets one day, buying up Orichalceous Time-Dials and paying a generous sum for each one. Some sellers queried him, curious to know what his reasons were, but he deftly deflected all their questions with an array of excuses and other verbal tricks. As for what this individual's true motive was, perhaps only the unyielding forward march of time can finally deliver a satisfying explanation. When the Millelith was first founded, Liyue was still a savage and dangerous place. The elders of towns, villages, and tribes would pledge their oaths of allegiance with a golden cup. As a show of loyalty to Rex Lapis and duty to their countrymen, they selected valiant soldiers from all regions. These soldiers became known as the Millelith. They would go on to take up arms with the Yaksha in battle, fighting from the rearguard. They too drank from that golden cup. It was a final toast to the benevolent and majestic Lord of Geo. With their gaze fixed ahead of them, they stormed into the abyss. Hundreds of years later, a conceited adventurer retrieved the cup from the depths of the chasm and washed away the imperfections. Miraculously, the cup remained whole and untarnished by the passage of time. The pitch dark of that subterranean realm had failed to remove its radiance. Yet more centuries passed. Eventually, the people of Liyue would tell tales of an era of catastrophe and a nameless Yaksha. Tales of how heroes from disparate heritages and different lands united under a single banner against the abyss. Inevitably, the tale would touch upon the cup, and how the blood of those that went before remained clear and spotless as the day was spilled. The commander who fought together with the nameless Yaksha fell in the line of duty, as did the handful of his compatriots who fought alongside him. To ensure that the afflicted civilians could safely escape, and to maintain their honor in the eyes of the Lord of Geo, the helmet-clad troops of the front line took the lead, pointing their spears towards the abyss and charging into battle. Disaster arrived in the land of Glaze, and a horde of ancient foes came surging forth. At the order of Rex Lapis, the Yaksha fought a bloody battle against the warped creations of the abyss. The fight went on until the last drop of blood had soaked into the battlefield, and all that was impure had been cleansed. As the tide of the abyss receded, the Glaze sands shone gloriously once more. But when the gloom that had filled the skies above the chasm had finally dissipated, the Yaksha disappeared without a trace. As for the general and his men who left their helmets on the battlefield, they rest there in peace forevermore. And that's it for the Tenacity of the Millelith Artifact Set. All of these stories are getting me very excited for version 2.6, and I'm sure many of you are excited as well. I hope we get to learn more about this mysterious Yaksha that was mentioned, and if we'll see any of the abyssal creatures that were talked about as well. Also, please give suggestions about what artifact set or weapon series you want me to cover too. I do want to go over all of them eventually. Anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I will see you all in the next video.